After taking a longer than expected break from TS Classic, I thought I'd get back into the swing of things with an unusual case of an old Dovetail add-on that's not too bad for her age. I got the idea to make this video after acquiring a 00 scale model of a Class 70, made by Bachmann Branchline. This thing was a second-hand purchase from Clark Railworks, and I had been wanting a Class 70 in my collection for many years. And now, here are my 2 cents on the Class 70 diesel locomotive as she appears in TS Classic. But first, a brief history of the real Class 70 locomotives. These are a variant of the General Electric Power Hall family, and 37 examples were built in Erie, Pennsylvania, in the United States, between 2008 and 2017. Freightliner was the launch customer, and they've now got 19 examples on their books, numbers 70001 through 70011, and 70013 to 70020. Colas Rail also ordered some Class 70s of their own, and these ones were delivered between 2014 and 2017. I would be remiss if I didn't mention locomotive number 70012, which, in January 2011, was infamously dropped from a crane as she was being unloaded from the ship at Newport Docks. The locomotive was so badly damaged that she had to be sent back to GE's plant in Pennsylvania, where she has since been rebuilt. But instead of going back to the UK, 70012 is now used as a test locomotive on GE's own track in Erie, Pennsylvania. These days, the Class 70s are still busy hauling freight trains throughout the UK, working alongside the ubiquitous Class 66 as they do so. Traditionally, the Freightliner locomotives were painted in the yellow, green and grey Power Hall livery, but the mould was broken in October 2024, when locomotive number 70020 was repainted in Freightliner's updated orange and black livery. 1 month later, locomotive number 70008 was unveiled in a supposedly retro livery ahead of Freightliner's 60th anniversary. There is a reskin pack with the new liveries included, although I haven't installed it myself because it's only available on ATS, a site that I don't want to use anymore. On a personal note, most of the UK freight trains that I saw in real life were hauled by a Class 66, but I saw at least one Class 70 as well. The specific locomotive in question was 70005, and I caught her going like the clappers through Apsley with a container train bound for Southampton. The date was Wednesday the 7th of May 2025. The Class 70 was first released for TS Classic way back in March 2012, and she is still available to purchase as of early November 2025. The add-on costs a reasonable 11 New Zealand dollars at full price, but it only includes the Freightliner Power Hall livery because, at the time of its release, the Colas engines didn't exist yet, while 70020 and 70008 were 12 years away from receiving their new liveries. Years ago, Richard Fletcher made a Colas reskin for the Class 70, and it's still available to download from DP Simulations, although the site is cluttered with ads these days. It's worth mentioning that the Class 70 is also available as part of DTG's South Wales coastal route alongside the Class 175 and recycled Class 43 HST. Of all the freight engines they could have bundled with the route, I'm puzzled as to why they chose a Class 70. Thinking back to the old standalone pack, this includes the MJA and TEA freight wagons modelled by UV Entertainment, plus 5 scenarios for the old West Coast Mainline North route. However, the Class 70's default scenarios are a bit strange, even if only because this modern locomotive looks out of place alongside the AI traffic, which often comprises HSTs or Class 86 electric locomotives and Mark III coaches in intercity liveries. As for modelling, it looks fine to me, but I don't know enough about the Class 70 in real life to point out any inaccuracies. The livery application is pretty decent for an add-on this old, but the textures are quite fuzzy up close. The cab interior is very well modelled, although not all of the buttons and switches are clickable. But on the plus side, the information screens are fully functional, displaying information relating to the brake pipe pressure and other functions on the locomotive. Meanwhile, the cab doors and windows do not open, but the second man's seat can be spun around. For some reason, the horn lever doesn't move when you press the B key, but this means that you can blast both tones at the same time. Curiously, this locomotive has never had a sound or enhancement pack from Armstrong Powerhouse. The default sounds are better than what I would normally hear from a Dovetail product, but even then, an enhancement pack would still be a welcome addition. The only part of the default sound set that I don't particularly like is the flange squeal, which, in this case, is the same audio that DTG would reuse on the Class 395 Javelin, another train that still hasn't got the AP treatment after all this time. The Class 70 is fairly versatile, and it can be used in realistic settings on a wide variety of routes, not just West Coast Mainline North and South Wales Coastal, Bristol to Swansea. She is pretty basic in terms of overall functionality, especially when compared to more recent diesel locomotive add-ons like the AP/MKS Class 37. Although the brakes are a bit slow to release, and the rolling resistance is a bit too strong for my liking, I still like driving the Class 70 on rare occasions. In closing, I don't have much more to say about the Class 70 diesel locomotive that I haven't already said. I've had her in my collection for over a decade at this point, and I'm of the opinion that she has aged reasonably well where the sounds and modelling are concerned. If you want a diesel locomotive add-on that doesn't break the bank, then the Class 70 is worth a try, and if you've stuck around to the end of the video, you win a railway station that was recently overrun by noisy dogs. It's Sheffield Bark,